What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we are going to be reacting to most useless mega projects in the world. Yeah, considering this is made by the same person that made the previous ones, such as designers who should go to HELL, and the most hilarious, not at all, fails. Yeah. This isn't something I'll go like, oh, wow, for. Because sometimes I don't believe it's going to be true, the title. Because last time it wasn't even funny, it was horrifying. Those fails. So I'm not going to hold my. So I'm going to hold my breath a bit when it says most useless mega projects. Heck, it might be true, but I won't know until we start the video. So if you do enjoy this video, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button, support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when new video comes out. And if you have any videos you'd like to recommend that I should react to, leave it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. Finally, in the description is the link to the original video that I'm reacting to. So if you want to see it yourself, give it a look. Try to understand it, look into the names and such, and whatnot to see if all this is true. It's down there, the link to this video. So yeah, go ahead and do that. Other than that, let's start this video. And be sure to give the original creator some love and support for the video they made. I almost forgot that. Good thing I caught myself. Anyway, let's go.
Countries around the world have pumped millions and even billions of dollars into huge construction projects that make our lives better. But some mega projects should have been thrown in the garbage at the planning stage. So grab a hard hat and a high-vis jacket. We've got mega projects, mega prospects, and something a little, unstable to look at. Ouch. It's time to check out the most useless mega projects in the world. Road to Nowhere. Hawaii is a beautiful place. It's got beaches, grass skirts, coconut bras. Oh, and this super expensive blight on the landscape, the H3 Interstate. Now, I know what you're thinking. Interstate? Hawaii? Well, that's one big highway. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't connect to any other state. The name just means it's been funded by the federal government.
So, rather than spanning 2,500 miles to the nearest state, California, it spans just 15, from northwest of downtown Honolulu to the Marine Corps base, Hawaii.
Oh, even so, it still cost a colossal $1.3 billion to build, or $80 million a mile. Jeez. Well, back in 1960, first authorized, people weren't happy. Not only was it set to level a vast number of trees, but there were also sacred temples and funerary mounds in the area that were super significant to native Hawaiians. And because of this, people protested hard. But constructors eventually got legal authorization anyway, and in 1989 they started building. 7 contractors, and 8 years later, it finally opened in 1997. So, despite H3 taking 37 years and blowing the budget by a shocking amount, are Hawaiians happy? Not at all. Construction destroyed many of the sacred sites throughout the valley. Now, lots of people won't drive anywhere near the road for fear of being cursed by the dead. So it's hardly even
understandable.
If you were thinking of taking a smooth cruise through the Hawaiian countryside, then best be checking your back seat before you set off. Ah! That's a real highway to hell. Dam bursters.
Okay, I can see it. But yeah,
Man,
that
all this talking is fancy
was
work. Sometimes I wish I had a
insensitive.
giant reservoir to serve all
The
my
thing in Hawaii.
irrigation needs. Well, the city of Los Angeles faced the same problem in the 1900s, though it
Hmm.
wasn't because they all talked too much. They needed a reliable water reserve for the growing needs of the city. So they hired self-taught civil
Okay.
engineer William Mulholland to set about designing and building the largest arch-supported dam in the world. Construction started in
That
1924
doesn't sound
and was
too bad.
finished suspiciously quickly in 1926. Located in San Francisco Canyon, about
That
40 miles outside of
shouldn't
downtown
be
LA,
done
the
that
iconic
fast,
St.
right?
Francis Dam was over 700 feet long and 185 feet tall, big enough to hold more than 12 billion gallons of water. That's over 18,000 Olympic swimming pools. However,
That's not
as it began
bad.
to fill, the cracks in self-taught Mulholland's experience started showing, very literally. Several leaks began appearing, which the engineer dismissed as totally normal. But in reality, the foundations of the dam were woefully unsuitable for supporting such a huge weight of water. On March 12, 1928, only 5 days after the reservoir reached max capacity, the giant concrete wall collapsed, sending all 12 billion gallons of water hurtling towards the Pacific Ocean. After just 5 minutes, the 120-foot wave had violently careened 1.5 miles from the collapsed wall, destroying everything in its path. It went down as one of the worst
Oh,
engineering catastrophes in U.S. history, destroying 1,000 homes and leaving at least 431 people sleeping with the fishes.
okay.
So whether
Yeah, that
believe
actually
any
deserves the
wrongdoing from
title
Mulholland,
of the
again, all I can say is, damn. See
damn
city.
jokes. That's actually pretty funny.
Man, I didn't sleep too good last night. My neighbor was jumping up and down on their bed for hours. If only I lived somewhere quiet, alone, and all by myself. Actually, I think I know just the place.
That
Shangyun International
nope. I'm
Project
not gonna think
is a
about what he said
1,800-acre development
and
in
focus on what he's explaining.
Zhejiang, China, and it's completely empty. Over the course of
Huh?
several years, developers splashed a monstrous $3 billion on creating a new, high-end residential super community. But when the construction company's CEO was arrested in 2014 for bribing state officials, the company fell into crisis and incurred billions of dollars in debts.
They were forced to declare bankruptcy, and Xiangyun was seized by the government, leaving thousands who'd already bought properties there seriously out of pocket.
Now, the huge city is eerily empty, like a ghost town. And though European-style
That's
buildings and statues might look great from the outside, the inside tells a different story. I mean, just look at this mall. One company has expressed interest in taking the failed city over, but it's going to take some really big bucks to save this place. It's a shame. If it had worked out, it'd be a pretty awesome place to live. I know an even
it
more
does really
awesome
look
place, though.
nice.
My YouTube channel. Hit those like and subscribe buttons so
Uh,
you'll never miss one of my incredible videos again. Alright, let's get back to it.
but that city didn't look
Helter
bad.
Skelter. I hate sitting in traffic. Someone needs to hurry up and invent a teleporter so I never get stuck during rush hour again. Well, China might have made the next best thing. The keyword being might have. The HZMB bridge system has reduced the
Hmm.
transportation time between three of the world's most populous cities, Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau, from 4 hours to just 30 minutes. It's the
What?
longest sea crossing in the world at over 34 miles long, meaning it could stretch the entire width of Los Angeles and still have bridge to spare. Wowzers. So what's the catch? Well, considering the whole thing cost a gargantuan $18.8 billion, I
Damn.
imagine it'd be put to good use. But,
It does sound
will
like it.
anyone actually drives down it? You need a crossing permit, and it's
What?
almost impossible to obtain one. Weird. Only high-tech investors, top academics, politicians, or philanthropists are even considered for the permits. And your vehicle must be registered in all 3 cities. Even then, the daily limit for applicants is only 400. That's hella stingy. It seems like they're doing everything they can to stop people crossing. Some people reckon that because of Hong Kong's overcrowding problem, they're trying to limit traffic flow into the city. But if that's the case, why spend 9 years and almost $19 billion building this thing just to stop people from using it? Something seems suspicious to me. What do you think? Let
That
me know down in the comments.
kind of does sound true. But if you're going to be restricting them, but
Horsing around.
then it just seems a
Ever
little,
dreamed of having a
you
giant
know,
statue built of you when you die?
weird.
Mr. Bartholomew Egbert Amazed,
Oh.
maker of YouTube's finest videos. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Well, one statue in Custer County, South Dakota, takes this concept
What?
to the extreme. Back in 1877, Native American war hero Crazy Horse led the Lakota people into battle to protect native territory from the federal government, but was fatally wounded. 62 years later, in 1939, Lakota chief Henry Standing Bear commissioned Polish-American sculptor Korczak Zielkowski, who'd previously worked on nearby Mount Rushmore, to carve
Okay.
Korczak's likeness into Thunderhead Mountain. With those credentials, what could go wrong, right? Well,
I mean,
Korczak's original plans were for the statue to be 641 feet long and
doesn't sound
563 feet
bad.
tall, overtaking the entire mountain and looking a lot like this. Jump to present day, and here's what we actually got. The face is the only part that's been finished, and that wasn't completed until 1998,
What?
50 years after Korczak started. And there's been practically no progress since. Though Korczak himself worked tirelessly to try to complete it, after his passing, his family took the baton, and they were less than enthusiastic. Despite raking in millions of dollars in donations and tourist fees from the incomplete monument, they've added very little to it. Even worse, Thunderhead Mountain was a sacred burial ground.
Oh.
What Crazy Horse died protecting goes against everything he stood for. The Lakota people seem to have been left behind for an egotistical money-making project by the Zielkowskis, and that's really messed up. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Silent Stadium.
That actually
With
sucks.
3.5 billion supporters around the world, it's safe to say soccer is the most popular sport on Earth.
True,
In
true.
2014,
Can't disagree.
when Brazil hosted the prestigious World Cup, they set about building a bunch of new stadiums to impress all the global spectators. But one stadium left fans scratching their heads. In the city of Manaus, in the Amazon
so?
rainforest, the aptly named Arena de Amazonia might be the worst location
Sounds
for
nice,
a
actually.
giant soccer stadium ever. See, there's no roads from Manaus to the coast, and that was where the building supplies were delivered. So all the materials had to be shipped up the Amazon River, which was a super expensive journey. Then during construction, the blazing hot rainforest temperatures proved too much for the grass on the pitch, which turned brown and died. At this, event organizers took to painting it green. Not exactly what you'd expect from a $300 million stadium. But its post-World Cup life has proven even more miserable. See, the most successful team in Manaus, Nacional, are all the way down in the 5th tier of Brazilian soccer. So whilst they have taken the stadium as their own, audience attendance rarely hits over 3,000, a tiny fraction of the 44,300 total capacity. They literally have no fans.
You've got no fans?
Aside from the occasional Christian
That's
concert held there, the place remains pretty empty. And sadly, I think even the big man upstairs would say it's a complete waste.
can't disagree.
The robotics race has really ramped up in recent years.
Max.
We've had the good, the bad, and the downright weird. But this
definitely the weird.
suit in Yokohama, Japan,
Oh, that's
might be
not.
one of the most
That's actually pretty cool.
Based on the RX-78-2 mech suit from the popular Gundam anime series, this to-scale model is a tremendous 59 feet tall. Now, I'm not saying getting a 25-ton robot the size of 3 giraffes to move is an easy feat. However, I wouldn't rely on this Gundam to protect Earth from any alien invasions like the ones from the show. Aside from taking a few short steps forward and bending down on one knee like a sluggish grandma, it doesn't really do a lot. It's just a big, shiny tourist attraction. So, if you're not that into Gundam, it does seem pretty pointless. Whilst the official
Well,
price hasn't been revealed, a similar sized statue in Tokyo cost around $100,000, but that can only move its head, whereas the Yokohama Gundam can move its entire body. And that means a much bigger price tag. I don't know. It's not really doing it for me, but hey, the fans seem happy, so who am I to judge?
it does seem really cool. And I'm not even a
Whether you
Gundam
love
fan.
or hate,
Actually, I haven't
Japan's
seen
in its
Gundam,
world
so
today. There's no denying that
maybe I
one
should look into
particular policy
watching
from back
Gundam.
in his initial 2016 election
Oh, I
didn't turn
just
out
realized
to
we
be
were talking
promised.
about.
You know, reinforcing the border wall between the US and Mexico. The new wall was supposed to cover
Ugh.
1,000 miles of big, beautiful concrete, and Mexico was going to cover the whopping $8 to $12 billion invoice. Well, it's not exactly gone to plan. So far, the border wall is only 450 miles long, less than half of what was promised, and only 47 miles of that is actually new.
The rest of it is just the previous wall, bolstered with steel bollards, which, as you can see, isn't that great at keeping people out.
Man, he didn't even break a sweat. But if you're not the best climber, hey, don't worry. There's some nice low parts that you can just hop right over. Off she goes into the land of the free. Some of the new parts were made so badly,
Not wrong.
you just need to wait until they fall over. Jeez. So far, this ludicrous project has cost an outrageous $15 billion. That's almost $320 million per new mile built. Plus, some estimates say the yearly maintenance costs could be up to $28 billion. And as for Mexico fronting the bill, well, they haven't coughed up a dime. It's all been covered by the taxpayers. Man, sounds like the time my date ordered a $150 steak, then realized that she'd left her purse, so I had to pay. Ha ha! Oh, she's so silly.
Damn.
Hour of power. If I'm procrastinating, I do 15 minutes of work max before I get bored. But I've got nothing on the failures of Monju Nuclear Power Station in Japan's Fukui Prefecture. Since getting the go-ahead in 1983, it's only produced one measly hour of power. 1 hour in several decades. No longer
What?
to wake up every morning. Monju is a prototype fast breeder reactor. By jiggling the reaction process, the creators had hoped the plant would recycle used nuclear fuel to create even more energy, making
But
the
it didn't.
station way more efficient, which sounds great on paper, except it turned out to be anything but efficient. Major faults were discovered in 14,000 individual components, some controlling critical safety features of the station. Yikes. In
Ugh.
1995, a fire broke out, which staff tried to hide by editing the security footage. Double yikes. And in 2010,
Oh,
a
boy.
1.3-ton refueling machine fell into the reactor vessel and got so busted up, it wouldn't fit back through the top. Man, what a comedy of errors. Yet somehow, the plant limped on. In 2011, though, nuclear disaster struck Fukushima when a tsunami hit the Fukushima nuclear power station and caused a radiation leak. After that, public opinion turned firmly against nuclear power, especially Monju, which by that point had devoured almost $12 billion of government spending with nothing to show for it. 5 years later, in 2016, it was closed for good and authorized for deconstruction. But guess what? That's going to take until 2047 and cost another $3.4 billion.
Oh,
So, all in
no.
all, this has been a shameful
That's
$15 billion
cringy.
6-year demonstration of how not to make something. Oh, and if you were wondering where the name Monju came from, It was named after the Buddhist deity of wisdom, the irony. Coastland, Ghostland.
Coastland,
Recently, I've been trying
Ghostland.
to live a little more sustainably. I recycle, donate stuff, and I've stopped making petrol fires in my backyard. But some countries,
That
like
sound good.
Malaysia, have struggled implementing environmental changes.
Announced in 2006, Malaysia's Forest City was meant to be an incredible role model of future cities.
Consisting of 4 artificial islands off the coastal wetlands of Johor. Concept
Artificial.
pictures showed beautiful towers draped with plants,
Oh,
roads, and smart technology apartments that could maintain your home with no intervention. But
that
since
looks
the grand
nice.
opening in 2016, things haven't exactly taken off. By 2019, only 15,000 units had been sold, embarrassingly short of their target of 700,000. And as few as 500 people actually lived there. Awkward. See, the Chinese developers targeted the project almost exclusively towards upper middle class Chinese citizens as a place to store their wealth outside of China. But this collapsed when the Chinese government introduced a yearly spending cap of $50,000 on purchases made outside the country. Couple that with COVID and Malaysia having a political crisis, and you're left with a ghost town struggling for buyers. With the most basic studio apartment costing almost $100,000,
Ooh.
Malaysian salary being less than $11,000, there's no chance of the locals affording it. But that's not all. Despite being touted as an ecological marvel, its construction has caused irreversible damage to the protected wetlands off the coast of Malaysia. Yikes. Now, you can't put a price on the environment, but you can put a price on this hunk of metal, and that's a ridiculous $100 billion.
Oh my gosh.
Feel woozy. The only residents are these tacky plastic animals everywhere. I'm not surprised no one wants to live here. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. Block flop. Buying your
What the
first house
frick?
is a stressful experience, full of highs and lows.
True.
But if your first property was the Lotus Riverside project in Shanghai, it'd just have been one monumental low. On June 27th, 2009, one of the
What
11
the frick?
13-story apartment blocks collapsed completely onto its side. Fortunately, no one
How?
was living there at the time, but sadly, one unlucky worker was inside collecting his tools when the building gave way. They'd been digging a pit to create an underground garage below the south side of the apartment block and piling all the excavated dirt on the north side. But the huge,
That
heavy
doesn't sound
mound
smart.
of dirt shifted the structure of the soil, putting loads of extra pressure on the concrete foundations, and these were vital for supporting the building from below. Unable to tolerate this increase in pressure, they snapped, and the whole building toppled over. Miraculously, other
Oh.
blocks were undamaged, but can you imagine the domino rally that could have happened? Well, 400 owners of the other apartments could, as they demanded their money back right away. As a result, the developers had to pay out almost $2 million in damages and got hit with almost $3 million for the cleanup. That might be the
Oh.
costliest pile of dirt I've ever heard. Costa Fortune. In the words of one of
Okay,
my
yeah,
favorite poets,
all this stuff is kind
I
of
like big
reaching
boats,
to
and I
title.
cannot lie. That was MC Harbor. What a guy, huh? Well, this boat here is absolutely giant. Or was giant. This is the Costa Concordia, a 114,000-ton, 950-foot-long mega cruiser capable of carrying over 4,000 people. This enormous ship went into service in 2006 and cost a whopping $570 million, but it hardly lasted 6 years. On the last leg of a cruise around the Mediterranean in 2012, it struck a rock near Tuscany, Italy, and partially capsized. Captain Francesco Schettino had deviated from the planned course to perform a sail-by salute, where the
What?
ship is brought close to shore to salute those on land. Confident enough he could navigate the area by eye, Schettino had turned off the ship's computer navigation system
That-
before performing the maneuver.
That's
Big
stupid.
mistake. Less than 1,000 feet from the shore, he suddenly noticed dangerous waves breaking on the reef and ordered the ship to turn.
By then, however, it was too late. The ship turned all right and crashed straight into an uncharted rock in the seabed.
Oh
Despite
my
the best efforts
gosh.
of the rescue team, 34 people never made it back to shore. As well as the tragic losses, it took over 2 years for the ship to be refloated and towed almost 200 miles to Genoa, where it was torn apart and scrapped. The entire cost of the cleanup and scrapping, plus the compensation payouts for the victims, came to around $2 billion. You could buy nearly 4 new boats for that. Whoa. Costa Concordia? More like Costa flipping fortune. The Big Stink. For architect Thomas Wilson, living in 1820s London was tough. Not because of the food or the weather, but because of all the bodies piling up with nowhere to bury them. Ew. See, from 1770, London had a massive industrial boom. So many people relocated to the city for
Okay.
work. But more people eventually means more bodies to bury.
And there's
Enough
twist.
graveyard space to accommodate all of them was overlooked. Until, that is, Wilson came up with a seriously metal solution to London's corpsey conundrum. A giant pyramid of death. By building up, Wilson
What?
theorized you could condense 1,000 acres of traditional graveyard space into just 18 acres, capable of storing 5 million bodies. He planned
Sounds smart on paper.
Sorry. A giant pyramid of death. 90 stories tall. London's tallest building, the Shard, is 95 stories tall, or just over 1,000 feet. So this pyramid would have been colossal. Each side would be covered in dark granite, with stairs leading to an observatory at the top. Unfortunately, at $789 million in today's money, the crazy scheme proved too dear. Plus, Londoners were understandably against having a nightmarish pyramid of bodies towering over their city. So instead, the city privatized land specifically for traditional graveyards. Boring. Still, I get it. 5 million bodies ain't gonna smell so great. The big smoke would have been more like the big stink. Capital corruption.
That was freaking
This year,
crazy.
I want to travel more. I want to eat good food, meet new
Mm.
people, and see some cool cities. But one place
Can't
I won't
disagree.
be going is the capital city of Naypyidaw, Myanmar.
Despite
Okay,
being
what did they do?
4 times bigger than New York, Naypyidaw has less than 1/8 of New York's population.
Woo. So where'd they all go? Well,
Huh?
they were never there. What? Naypyidaw only became the capital
Wait,
in
what?
2005, after Myanmar's military government became paranoid that the previous capital, Yangon, was going to be attacked from the sea. And sure, Naypyidaw is more central, but it's also a far less desirable place to live. Even though it covers almost 3,000 square miles, there's only one high school, very few shops, and almost no public transport. What's more, most businesses are still located in the previous capital city. So unsurprisingly, people don't want to relocate. As such, this 20-lane highway is almost always eerily empty, like something out of Silent Hill. It's pretty obvious who this city was really
Oh yeah, I
for,
can
though.
see
There
it
might be
being
no
that.
public facilities, but there is a 100-room presidential palace and a 31-building parliamentary complex. The whole place cost a heartbreaking
Huh?
$4 billion, too. About 5% of all the money Myanmar makes in a year. The public essentially funded something utterly useless to them so the corrupt government can hold on to their dictatorial power. So, simply put, you won't be catching me touristing in Naypyidaw. Challenging times. It's crazy to think that nowadays, if you've got enough money, you can literally fly off into space. But
True.
our journey to conquer the cosmos has had some major hitches along the way. Back in 1986, NASA's Challenger shuttle took off for space. Just 73 seconds later, though, it broke apart and set completely aflame. Sadly, all 7 crew members went down with it. The shuttle was intended to have a lifespan of 10 years. However, the Challenger had only been in action for a measly 3. So, what the heck happened? Well, O-rings in the right-hand rocket booster malfunctioned. These are small rubber rings that create a tight seal to contain all the immense pressure that's produced when burning rocket fuel. But freezing temperatures on launch day stiffened the rubber, preventing the seal from forming properly. Because of this, when the rocket took off, flames burned through the booster wall and prized it away from the external fuel tank.
Okay.
This entered the tank, spilling highly flammable liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen everywhere and setting the entire shuttle alight. To add insult to injury, engineers at NASA had flagged up flaws in the rocket boosters as early as 1977, as well as the dangers of launching in cold conditions. However, their concerns were ignored, and the shuttle was allowed to fly. Oof. Because of this, the Space Shuttle program was put on hold for the next 3 years. Rightfully so. In today's money, Challenger's building, plus the money used in the wake of the disaster, would cost a whopping $15 billion in total. Now, I'm sure plenty of lessons were learned from this terrible tragedy, but holy Jupiter, that's one expensive error.
That is very true.
Ooh, we made it. I wouldn't trust these guys to make a sandwich, let alone build anything. So, which of those mega projects do you think should have been a mega reject? Let me know down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
This... Wow. Okay. Just... Wow. First, this one and the thing in Hawaii. Definitely disrespectful. I don't know where that hiccup came from. But yeah, the thing in Hawaii, making this thing over nature and burial grounds, that was disrespectful and awful. That the people who just decided to do it are just really big pricks. The dam. Holy hell. That was something that should have been looked into thoroughly. It's not the project I would say would be the most useless or something that should have been rejected from the start, but damn. That thing is awful. Now this is due to corruption and people just trying to buy their way. I mean, it looks pretty cool, the city, that is. But the problem is how it was achieved. Now, I'm not going to say it's the most useless one here, because in retrospect, if they did it cleanly and actually did it with proper support and not bribes, I could see the city being like the biggest thing to have happen and something that would have gained massive support. This bridge, on the other hand, seems kind of useless. It's mainly due to the fact that the only way to get on is to have permits and such to be able to do it. And that's just kind of makes it pointless. Because to get even one permit to even go back and forth, it's just going to take 400 people a day. And if the list is big, and like you're the 20th thousand person, and you have to keep going, doing it to just get approval, that's kind of crazy. And most that's 400 people per day. That's just dumb. This one, I wouldn't say this is useless, because it seemed like the original creator to make this statue was just going to be like amazing, perfect, awesome, and so on and so forth. It's just the creator died before it could be completed, and and anyone who actually was a family member of the creator and could support it didn't, because they had no interest in it, which makes this one sucks. It's not useless. It would have been great, but it just got to the point that the people that could do it just didn't care or didn't show interest in it, which is highly kind of disrespectful. And considering that it's supposed to be a monument to show, considering that that statue was on a gravesite, I don't know if that's a good thing, it's not complete, or a bad thing. But then again, those are the people who died in the war, so 50-50. I can't say it's good, but I can't say it's bad either. Now, the soccer stadium, it was the most useless one, I suppose. Because, well, for one, it looks great on paper. The design is amazing. The only thing that I could say was wrong about this was the weather and kind of the location. Because this location didn't really get a lot of people. If it was built somewhere else, then I can kind of see it being good. But it's a 50-50. I don't know where to go with this one, since it looks good, but it's not really making the results that it should be. Now, this thing is actually freaking cool, though. The Gundam, but yeah. Getting back into the main point, this stadium, I would say it's more of a 50-50 in my opinion. Like, it's great, and it has amazing design. It's just where they put it that just makes it bad. I don't know if you all agree with me, but go ahead and tell me what you think of so far in the comment section below. Now this Gundam looks pretty freaking cool. And I think the fans can agree with me, but then again, it's 50-50. I'd say it's a pretty good tourist attraction, especially during the night, considering that it moves, but yeah. Now this wall, I never supported it in the beginning when Trump said he was going to make it. I found it pretty unfair to make something like this, considering the fact that he's saying it's going to be built, but they have to pay the whole price. So, ugh. And considering that the end result isn't really necessary, this is the most useless project ever. And in all honesty, it doesn't deserve any support in my opinion. Moving on. This is another useless project. They tried to make it work, they failed, they didn't perfect it, and it got torn down, and all that. Instead of making it in a safe location, they put it into a situation where it's really bad to make it. Like, they put it near a place where they can get hit by a tsunami. And they're working with nuclear energy. Honestly, that's stupid. Very stupid. And it bit them in the butt. It costs so much money just to do all this stuff. Make it, build it, destroy it, transport the materials there, and taking away the rubbish. That is so much money that's being used for something that was completely useless. It's disappointing, actually. Because the idea sounds great, renewable nuclear energy that can be reused and recycled. It's good on paper, but it didn't come out great. And I have to say this is useless. But the city thing right here, where to even begin? One, I hate what it does to the water surrounding it. It just makes it look bad. And I hate the fact it does. The price for even getting this, like a room and all that, it's ridiculous. And I don't want to go there ever. I mean, it looks nice. The place looks great, but it's awful in the end result because of the price and the people they're targeting with this kind of money. Probably would have been a big hit with like people with a lot more money than regular people, but no, keep it away from me. I'm not agreeing with it. Now this one was dumb. They weren't cautious. They didn't try to make more support for this thing, and guess what? Sure, it fell and no one got, and a lot of people didn't die, but still someone died. This is more of making it about ignorance. And this thing right here, I wouldn't call it useless, but I wouldn't call it smart either. It's a mixture of a lot of things, so I'd say it's almost there to being a useless thing that should have been rejected to begin with, but no. It was just bad timing. Now this, I say they were done because they didn't really put caution into how to do this. They could have added more support. They could have redefined everything here just to make things better. They just did this in a really bad, dumb way. And in the end, they paid the price for their stupidity. They paid the price. Now this boat, it sounded amazing, but considering the fact of who was in command of it at the time, I have to say that it's not a bad idea, but considering the fact that the person in charge actually turned off the autopilot and actually, well, auto navigation, they just kind of, made things worse for them, and because of that, they probably went through some problems afterwards, considering that they were the fault of 34 people dying. Now, I don't know if it's solely on them, because It sounds good on paper, but without knowing for sure if the auto navigation would have made the trip successfully or not, I can't really say for sure. I'm gonna say it's probably 50-50, and that's really it. So without properly knowing the end result, if the auto navigation was on, I can't say anything more about it. Now I can understand the idea of this building up to make more space. Not bad on paper, but the kind of omen it would send would probably creep people out. I mean, I'm looking at it and I can understand why they would think this would be a good idea, but I can't agree on the whole procedure. Because, I'm gonna be honest, that would kind of bring a chill down my spine if I had to see a Tower of Death every time I go outside. Or a few blocks away. Honestly, the idea was bad, but I understand why they would want to go with it. It's more of a 50-50 in personal opinion, so can't really disagree, but I can't agree with it at all. Anyway, now this looks like I wouldn't call it useless since it seems great and all, making like this whole city here more like it looks great. Okay, the city looks great. The only thing that just didn't really make it great was why. And it's understandable as well. Because they only did this because of the fear of an attack on the lower half of the... Oh wow, that's kind of weird. Anyway, they only did it because of war, and that's completely understandable and all that. And I can agree with that. It makes sense, but the end result just wasn't what it made. What it was made for. This was made during a time of war. The idea came during a time of war and fear and panic of this happening. I can't blame them for this, and I can't really call it useless because if it did happen, it would make sense. And I would agree with it to a certain degree. The end result just wasn't in their favor, and I can't fault them for that. So basically, it's not useless, but it's not great either. Due to the fact that nothing really happened. But it was good to think that through. Now, here is freaking stupidity. They were warned about the fact of this before the launch. They were aware that this might not work. They were in the know that this thing could fucking explode when it reaches the cold depths of space and starts reaching into there. They are dumb for thinking that this was a great idea. Launching it and it being this spaceship while knowing the disaster that would follow. And even if it did get into space, they probably couldn't get them back down. So they would be trapped in space, dead maybe. Or if they even could come back, they'd probably die and kill the people on the ground when they landed. And not a regular landing, it'd be a freaking crash into the ground, killing so many people before it could even land safely. So yeah, no, this was freaking stupidity. It's not a useless project, but it was a dumb idea that deserves that the people who thought it would be a great idea to do this should go to HELL. Because that was dumb. That could have ended in so many bad ways just thinking about it, that it's dumb. It could have landed somewhere and killed multiple people. It could have caused a fire and made the worst wildfire ever. It could have landed in the ocean and we would probably be fine. It could have landed back into base and killed everyone, causing a major explosion that destroys and kills everyone. So many things could have happened, and that's only the starting process. That's how dumb this is. My gosh. Ugh. Basically, dumb. Everything. A lot of stuff was dumb decisions. This is dumb decision. This is dumb decision. That was a dumb decision and very insensitive. This was people not really making sure that the dam was going to be okay and was going to survive what they thought was going to be okay. That's dumb, but that's not being secure. So I'm thinking more not being secure. The bridge, that was kind of a waste, but you get it. It's not useless, but it's kind of there. It's almost useless. This was just unfair treatment. This, it was just put in a bad place. That was amazing, and I can fully agree with that one. It's not the useless thing, but this was pretty useless. Since they didn't even complete it. This was useless, since it caused more problems than anything else. Didn't even seem like a good idea to begin with. This was kind of ideal, but it caused so many problems, and it was made in the wrong time. That was stupidity of not being careful with your surroundings. And again, dumb idea. So basically, the most useless stuff, in my opinion, would be this wall and this nuclear power plant. Both are so useless here on this list. That's not funny. This one caused more problems that it's just dumb. And the other one here, I can never support the wall, and it's not even really a wall. It's more like a fence, at most. So yeah, with this said, hope you all enjoyed this video. If I keep rambling on, this is going to take forever just to finish. So again, hope you all enjoy. If you did, hit the like button down below, hit subscribe to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when your video comes out. And tell me what you think about all these projects. Tell me what you believe is the most useless project here. I'm really curious about it, and I want to hear your opinion and why you think it's useless. Other than that, again, the link to this video will be down in the description below. So, again, other than that, I'll see you all next time. Bye!